Welcome to Frontlines. We'd like to welcome our viewers from across the United States and Canada and Mexico, as well as our viewers from the Middle East and Europe, and of course, from Armenia and Artsakh as well. Today, or the last 24 hours, have been another momentous and historic moment in Armenian history. In the last year or so, this will be another day that will be historic, in that the ruling coalition, the ruling party, was able to maintain its hold on the parliament and the parliamentary elections. And with that, we'll be discussing some of those issues with our guests today. But a lot has not changed, and that is the fact that Azeri soldiers are still within the sovereign territory of Armenia. The foreign policy issues are still pressing and quite pressing, and indeed dangerous in some areas of the border villages. And of course, the issue of Artsakh still remains a large uncertainty. And with that, I want to pass it on to Garo so we can begin our conversation with our guest today.
Thank you, Karnig. Good morning, everyone in Yerevan and Armenia, Artsakh and Stepanakert, its capital, and good day everywhere else around the globe. We are very delighted to have with us today Alexander Lapshin. Alexander Lapshin is a Russian-Israeli journalist who was born in the former Soviet Union in 1976 to an ethnic Russian father and a Jewish mother from Ukraine. At the age of 13, he immigrated to Israel with his family. After graduation, he served 3 years in the Israeli army at the Gaza Strip on the Lebanese border. He studied programming and business management. And for about a year, he went to study in the United States, worked for a year as a security officer at the airport of the Bulgarian Sofia. And between 2003 and 2008, he lived again in Moscow. After the financial crisis in 2008 that hit Russia, he returned to Israel, and until 2016, he was living in a kibbutz, Rosh Hanikra, near the border with Lebanon, working as a remote editor of Russian travel internet resources. We all know Alexander because of the unfair arrest that he suffered and the circumstances that we will explore a bit today. But briefly, Alexander traveled to Artsakh between April 2011 and October 2012. And it was claimed that he had written in his blog that the area belonged to Armenia. World media began to cover his activities when on December 15 of 2016, he was arrested in Minsk, Belarus at the request of the Azerbaijani authorities for allegedly illegally crossing the border of Azerbaijan onto Artsakh, and was extradited to Baku in February of 2017. This resulted, needless to say, in tensions between relations of Armenia and Belarus, and it became a topic of discussion on foreign policy, both in Israel and in Russia. The Russian foreign minister spoke about it at length, Sergei Lavrov, and as a result, 5 states became involved over Alexander's arrest. Well, he was sentenced to 3 years in prison in Baku. He was only released after Israel intervened, and I would imagine Russia intervened as well, and he received a pardon by his Azerbaijani president, Ilham Aliyev. The authorities in Azerbaijan claimed that Alexander attempted suicide while in prison, while we know otherwise, and perhaps Alexander will share with us a bit about those circumstances. We will hear also from Alexander about his lodging a complaint with the European Court of Human Rights, which resulted in a judgment in favor of Alexander and against Azerbaijani government. As for the travels that Alexander is known for before the ordeal that he suffered, he is one of the most active travelers in the world, in my opinion. He's visited over 150 countries. His main travel destinations have been anywhere from the Middle East to Africa, the former USSR Soviet Union republics, Eastern Europe. He's also traveled to most countries of East and Southeast Asia, North and South America, Australia, and South and East Africa. I think I could go on and talk about him, but I am going to say that Alexander Lapshin, for me, will always be known for his crime of traveling to Artsakh, of which I suppose, Karnig, you're guilty, I'm guilty, and many, many we know are guilty in the eyes of Azerbaijan. And therein lies the insanity of the government and the regime in Baku, the rogue regime of Baku, which I would like to hear more about from Alexander today, his views on it, his views on human rights of Azerbaijan, and our prisoners of war, the many Armenians who are being still held there. Alexander, I cannot thank you for taking time out from capital of Armenia, where you are at the moment, and joining Karnig and I on Frontlines with our viewers. Pari Egadzes, as we say in Armenian, you are most welcome with us.
Yeah, Baradzes from Yerevan. So good night to America. So actually, I would like to start by saying that my story is not exactly about the conflict between Armenia and Azerbaijan over Artsakh or Karabakh in Azerbaijan. So being a descendant of Polish Jews who immigrated, miraculously actually survived the Holocaust, become refugees in the USSR, and now I'm living in Israel. So actually, I had nothing to do with this conflict, I mean, in Karabakh. So nevertheless, by the will of fate, or by the will of Ilham Aliyev, I found myself at the epicenter of the struggle for Karabakh. So as a child, actually, I loved Hollywood political thrillers. For example, Midnight Express, directed by Alan Parker. I think you know this movie about the Turkish jail. So, but I never imagined that I myself would be a participant in a political game that involved at least 5 countries that you mentioned. So,
well, let's have Karnig eagerly awaiting to ask you a question, and let's have a conversation, Alexander.
Yeah, Alexander, I wanted to take you back a little bit to let's take a step beyond before all the drama, if you will. What took you to Artsakh, number one? And I wanted to get your personal impressions of Artsakh, not only as a place, but also as to what you understood to be the value of Artsakh to the Armenian people.
So first of all, when I first time came to Artsakh, it was 2011. I came as a normal tourist, landed in Yerevan airport, hired a car. I traveled all around Armenia, and I've been like 2.5 days in Artsakh, so that's it. So I've never been in Shushi, for example. I visited Stepanakert, Gandzasar Monastery, Mardakert, Dedivank. So then I crossed back to Armenia. So that's it. So I can understand the importance of Artsakh for Armenian people, for Armenian culture and history. And actually, I wrote a number of articles in Russian language in my blog and a number of newspapers in Russia. So when I told the actual story of the struggle of Artsakh people for the independence after the collapse of the Soviet Union, so that's it. And then, for some reason, Azerbaijan had decided to arrest me after 5 years after I came back home, and the story began. So in my own understanding, there are some world rules that should not be violated. So I have always believed that the kidnapping for ransom is the prerogative of Somali pirates or Al-Qaeda terrorists. But based on my own experience, it has shown that entire states are perfectly engaged in terrorism activities and do not hide it at all from the outside world. And moreover, everyone is satisfied with it. So I'm pretty sure, so the most of audience in the United States has never even heard of my story. So, and this is not your fault, guys. I'm talking not about ethnic Armenians, but most of the American people. So the fact is that the media have never written about this in the United States. And the point, it's not only that I'm not a US citizen, and Armenia and Azerbaijan are too far away from America. But the problem is also that the Western world is interested in preserving the existing political regime in Azerbaijan, regime of Ilham Aliyev, which guarantees the stability of petrol and gas supplies, as well at the event of possible war against Iran. So they used Azerbaijani territory for the possible war against Iran. Actually, Israel is the same position. So, and for this, the Western world is ready to accept the obviously criminal regime of President Ilham Aliyev. So this is my opinion.
And speaking of the criminal regime of Ilham Aliyev, you filed a claim with the European Court of Human Rights. And the European Court of Human Rights issued an order in your favor, I believe also awarded 30,000 euros or some amount of money, which I don't know if you were able to enforce that judgment. But I would like to know, what was the basis of your claim against Azerbaijan? Was it human rights violations of you while you were in Azerbaijani prison? How were you treated there? Because I'm mindful, and many of us are mindful of the fact that we have Armenians currently in Azerbaijani custody. What can you tell us about that? And before you got to Azerbaijan, let's not forget the treatment you received in Belarus. So if you could talk about these two, in my opinion, dictators and what happened to you in Azerbaijani prison.
So first of all, when I was first arrested in Belarus, I was on my way from Lithuania. I took a train from Lithuania to Belarus to go to the city of Mogilев in the eastern part of Belarus. So this is the family of my wife, of my spouse. So when I crossed the border and I arrived to Minsk, capital city of Belarus, I checked into my hotel room, and after about half an hour, somebody knocked to my door, and I opened the door. There were a number of policemen with Kalashnikov machine guns. So they told me that I'm under arrest because of illegal visit to Nagorno-Karabakh. So it looked like a joke, you know. It was unbelievable in Belarus. So I tried to explain them it's a kind of mistake. How come? I'm just a tourist. I've been in Nagorno-Karabakh like 6 years ago. The connection between Belarus and Armenia and Azerbaijan. So they told me, I have no idea. So I have an order to arrest you and to bring you to the police station. That's it. So they told me you have just a couple of minutes to take all your belongings, all your luggage, and to go to the police car. So I asked them to go to the restroom. So enter the restroom. I took my cell phone. So I sent a message to Facebook. I am under arrest because of a Karabakh visit. Please help me, guys. So I posted this message on Facebook. And then they heard sometimes some voices from the Facebook. They entered the restroom and put a handcuff on my hands. And then I was taken to the police station. I spent 2 days inside the police station in central Minsk. It was a smallish room, like 1.5 meters. How my name fits?
Like an airplane bathroom size.
More or less like it's very small, really very small room. No windows, no food. So I didn't eat for 2 days. I was explained that Belarus it's not obligated to bring me the food. So if you want food, you must pay for the food. But I was actually robbed by the police, so I had no money. After 2 days, I actually asked for my lawyer. They said you don't need a lawyer because you will be flown to Azerbaijan, and then Azerbaijani lawyer will wait for you in Baku. So after 2 days, I was taken from the police station to the central jail of Minsk, called Volodarka, because name of the street is Volodarka Street. It's central Minsk. It's just in front of the president palace of Lukashenko, just in front. Our conditions were actually horrible. It was a smallish room, really small room. It's like my room here in a hotel in Yerevan, but 25 prisoners inside. Arrest room is just a hall, no doors, nothing, just a hall, and a bed, like 3 floor of the bed.
Bunk beds, yes.
Yes. No window. Almost no, of course, no air conditioning. Food, incredibly bad food. So porridge in the morning and kind of watery soup in the lunch and mashed potatoes in the evening with the part of the insect inside. So extremely dirty, extremely bad food, bad conditions. So we could take a shower once per 10 days. So we were taken outside to the bathroom, but what's actually the bathroom? It's once again, smallish room and 4 showers. 4 showers, again, 25 people for 15 minutes in a total. And you'll take the shower and you must wash your clothes somehow without soap, without shampoo, just with the hands and water. I felt like a German concentration camp, actually. So some of my cellmates were beaten by the police. What else? So I spent there like 2 months. The first months, no lawyers were allowed to visit me, no calls, no visit of the family. So nothing, absolute isolation from outside world. After a month, I think at first was a Russian ambassador who came to visit me in the jail. He said they applied with many applications in the prosecutor general office of Belarus in order to visit me, but they were refused. This is against the law. I was told by Russian ambassador that this is a kind of political game between Russia and Belarus based on petrol supply. So Lukashenko actually asked for discounts in petrol prices from Putin, and he was refused. So he said he will send me to Azerbaijan otherwise. So that's it.
And then you made it to Azerbaijan. I'm curious about your experience in Azerbaijani jail. They claim that you tried to kill yourself, but I understand it was the other way around. What can you tell us about that? Karnig, is that okay if I follow up with this? Yeah.
So after 2 months in Belarusian prison, I was taken to the international airport of Minsk, and I was really curious about the aircraft. It was a personal plane of President Aliyev. So it's like from the movies.
You were transported with the personal airplane of Aliyev?
Exactly. So if you check in YouTube the videos from this time, you will see it. It's personal aircraft of President Aliyev. So when we landed in Azerbaijan, in Baku airport, there were a lot of police, a lot of armed personnel around, hundreds of local journalists. It was like a show, like TV show. It was unbelievable. So I was taken outside, surrounded by the armed police. I think you remember these pictures.
Yes.
So we made it 2 times actually, because first time when we landed and when we, got closer to the airport, just in front of the cameras of the journalists, one of the policemen he lost this machine gun somehow, just fell on the ground. So we were taken inside back to the aircraft and we were asked once again to go out, just to play it well.
Wow.
And it was very funny, really, very, very funny. Very sad and very funny.
And Alexander, at this time, what did you know of the reasons for your extradition with respect? Were there any other further developments about the fact that you've traveled to Karabakh? Was there any other further discussion with you as to what the offense was and what the consequences were?
No, actually, in Belarus, when I've been in Belarusian prison, I was told by the local police that they have no idea what is my crime, based on the documentation, I crossed illegally to Nagorno-Karabakh, so that's it. So the Belarusian officials told me, we have nothing to do with you. So you have a problem with Azerbaijan, not with us. So we don't want to discuss about Karabakh issue. So, but when I talked with Russian and Israeli ambassadors in Minsk, when they came to visit me, they told me from the beginning that this is a big game around the petrol prices between Russia and Belarus. So Lukashenko trying to, to reduce the prices somehow. So that's it. So they told me, that's not about you. This is not your personality. That's even not because of Nagorno-Karabakh. This is just a big political game inside the ex-Soviet Union.
And
now,
when you when you arrived in Baku, you said that there was a large staged show, essentially, of armed personnel and bringing you off the plane, which we know the video. At that point, were there any further elaborations explaining what was to become of you before you were taken to? Were you allowed to meet with an attorney at that point?
No, I didn't allow to meet my lawyer in Belarus. So I had like two persons to communicate with Russian ambassador and Israeli ambassador. So that's it.
What I was going to ask you, the reason I asked you about the circumstances in Azerbaijani prison is because clearly the European Court of Human Rights issuing an order in your favor, Alexander, that was a confirmation of the Armenophobic policy of Azerbaijan. Because look, let's not beat around the bush. They got you in trouble. They made your life miserable. They took you from one country to the next in Aliyev's airplane to put you in prison because how dare you go to Artsakh? How dare you go there, a place that you didn't get permission from them to go? We all know about their infamous blacklist where they put journalists on there. They put anybody that has gone there that they think should not have gone there. So I'm curious, but I'm more than curious, I'm concerned because there are civilian and non-civilian prisoners, detainees. I consider some of them to have been taken hostage and imprisoned in Azerbaijan. Do you think, based on your experiences looking back, that they are being provided with the basic standards of human rights and civil rights of citizens and prisoners' rights for that matter? What is your opinion about it, if you can share any of that with us? Because I know there's going to be a movie about your life. And before I forget, I know about this. So if you want to hold back, you can hold back. But I know that our dear friend Jivan Avedisyan, who's been with us before on Frontlines, who is the director of Tevanik, The Last Inhabitant, Gate to Heaven, Revival, and all these wonderful features, he's bringing the story of Alexander Lapshin to the big screen. I know that's happening. So without giving away too much details, so Jivan doesn't get upset with you or me, do you think that the Armenian prisoners are being treated, based on your past experiences, are being treated according to any standards that resemble adherence to human rights?
So if we compare the case of my case with the case of Armenian prisoners of the war that's now in Azerbaijani jail, so I think Azerbaijan violates all the international conventions regarding the rights of the prisoners of the war. So Azerbaijan, in my own opinion, acts with the same method as the Somali pirates and brazenly takes people as hostages for the purpose of subsequent bargaining. So as I told you, with petrol prices and supplies to Russia and all around. Same with Armenian prisoners, but a little bit different trigger. So it's no secret that a significant part of the Armenian prisoners are not soldiers at all, exactly like me. But the civilian population was captured after the end of the hostilities, at the end of the war. So in my case, Azerbaijanis sought to get military technology from Israel, and also tried to put pressure on Russia by the fact that despite the protest of Russian government, Russian leadership, it still achieved. I mean, Razor brought me from Belarus, so they achieved my extradition to Baku. So they showed to Putin that Putin is no more a leader of the ex-Soviet sphere all around. So about my conditions in the jail, conditions were bad, but I spent 7 months in an absolutely solitary cell alone. Once again, smallish cell, no windows, just a lamp, 24 hours. So I couldn't sleep well because of the light, 24 hours per day. So I didn't have walks outside. So I couldn't see the sky for 7 months actually, except of couple of days when I was taken from prison to the court. So I could see the sky. It was so brilliant, so beautiful. I was so happy. Bad food. What else? No medical treatment.
There were physical threats to your life. I don't know if you want to get into that or not. I mean, I'm glad to see you alive and well. So obviously you survived the ordeals and tortures, if there were any, or mental anguish. But safe to say that the Azerbaijani narrative was one that you rejected. Is that still your position? That what they claimed was not the truth, was it? That what happened to you in prison?
I talked about the attempt of my life.
Yes. I'm talking, they said that you tried to kill yourself, Alexander, but I think you denied that.
Of course not. Of course not. So on the 10th of September, after exactly 7 months in Azerbaijani jail, it was a birthday of my mom. So I was allowed to call to my mom from the local phone in the jail. So I talked to my mom about 5 minutes. I think it was the first time in the 9 months that I spent in Azerbaijan and Belarusian jail in a total. It was my just first conversation with my family. And so by the same day, by the evening, when I went to bed to sleep, I don't know what was the time, because I didn't allow to use my watch. Somebody opened the door, and so I slept like with my head to the door, so I couldn't see from the beginning. So four people just entered my room, my cell. One of them jumped on me. 4 guys kept my legs and my hands, my arms, and they began to strangle me with the fingers like this. And somebody put a pillow or blanket or something on my face, so I couldn't see them. And after about half a minute, I lost my consciousness, so that's it. And I spent 3 days in a coma in Baku Central Hospital, the emergency unit. So when I first opened my eyes, I saw my mom. I saw my mom in the room, and Israeli ambassador, and a lot of Azerbaijani officials around me. And I couldn't speak because of artificial
intubation.
I couldn't breathe, because I have a broken
clavicle
bone here.
Okay.
I think hippoid bone or something.
Okay.
So I couldn't use my right hand because I didn't feel half of my body. It's like a stroke, So I couldn't feel exactly the half of my body. So I couldn't move my arm and my leg. So I couldn't talk. It was horrible. And actually, I've got a stroke. It was a stroke, but luckily it was a kind of mild stroke. So I spent 3 days in a coma, then number of days I spent in a hospital. Then I was told that Ilham Aliyev decided to pardon me, and I will be flown home in about number of days when the doctors will allow me to fly. So that's it.
Alexander, in addition, I mean, clearly the stories of the physical and even emotional, psychological trauma are significant. There's no question about that, to the point of near death, that you were taken to a hospital for and put in and you were in a coma at the time. I wanted to ask you, during those 7 months, because from what I understand of your story, and maybe you can expound upon this a little bit more, there was almost this period of indoctrination with respect to what Nagorno-Karabakh meant, or what Nagorno-Karabakh is, in terms of the fact that your position was that it's Armenian, and they had been questioning you and trying to get you to say something contrary to that. Could you explain that a little bit to our viewers?
Yeah, I was taken to interrogations number of times. I talked with the local prosecutors, Azerbaijani prosecutors and investigators. They told me from the beginning that you are in a trouble. You will die in this prison. You must confess in your guiltness. You are Armenian spy. We have a proof that you are Armenian spy. And then they told me I'm a Mossad spy and a Russian intelligence spy. It was crazy, really crazy. They told me that no one cared about me. Of course, I didn't have access to internet or TV or something, so I didn't know what's going on around me. So they told me, no one cared about you. All around forgot about you. Even Armenians, they don't care about your fate. Even you die here, no one will care. They said that even your family, your wife and your mom, they told us that you you visited Karabakh illegally, so you're dangerous. You committed a dangerous crime, and so that's it. So,
did they tell you, Alexander? Did they tell you to say that? And because we've heard stories from the POWs regarding the fact that forcing Armenian POWs to state that Karabakh is part of Azerbaijan. Was there similar types of questioning or interrogation techniques with you?
Of course, as I told you. They told me, what they told me, after about a couple of months, you will be taken to the court, to the judgment, so you must confess that you are guilty. You will tell in the court that you recognize Karabakh as a part of Azerbaijan. You must say you are Armenian spy, and then probably you will be released home after some time.
To this day, Alexander, you are critical of Ilham Aliyev and Azerbaijan. You just a couple of days ago, I read on social media what you wrote. It was a satire of sorts, I suppose. You said Ilham Aliyev has already rewritten the Bible. And in his version of the Bible, you wrote, Moses is the one who's bringing his people to Israel, but you said, never mind the fact that Israel wasn't really formed or created as a country until 1948. You said that, according to Aliyev's Bible, there was nobody there in the land of Israel except Jews and Azerbaijanis, and that after 40 years of roaming the desert, Moses got to Israel, and there were the Azerbaijanis and the Jews joined them, and you said, don't laugh, because Azerbaijan will rewrite history and make up its own facts. Why did you say that? Does it have anything to do with the churches in Artsakh which now Azerbaijan claims to be Albanian. I mean, you went to Artsakh, you visited Artsakh, you mentioned Shushi, you mentioned Stepanakert. Did you get the sense, having visited 150 countries, that those churches were not authentic Armenian churches?
So first of all, about this comment. So this comment is not, of course, not from Ilham Aliyev. This comment is from Azerbaijani journalist. Actually, I don't remember his name. So this guy is not smart too much, but I mean, the total anti-Armenian propaganda and Armenophobia is a basement for Azerbaijani regime. So the same, they try to convert all the churches, all the cultural, historical, I mean, buildings and monasteries and all around in Karabakh, they try to convert it to Albanian. So actually that's what they do. And unfortunately, the current Armenian government, they do nothing to prevent it, unfortunately.
Well, let's talk about that current Armenian government. You also wrote, I think Saturday, you said you were walking the streets of Yerevan and there's an election campaign going on everywhere. You're seeing leaflets with people's faces that you know. I suppose those are some of the candidates that were participating in the elections. You made some very valuable observations, one of which was that some people believed that there were patriots in this race, and others believed there were thieves in this race. But you mostly tried to address those who were not interested in voting, especially, you know, since now the elections are concluded, and it looks like half the country did not participate in the voting, or at least from my understanding of it, 1.2 million people voted from a 2.5 million country. Well, I suppose not everybody is of voting age, or not everybody that lives there is necessarily a citizen of Armenia. But you said that everybody must vote, and that tomorrow, meaning yesterday, was an important day for Armenia. What did you observe? Did you see a healthy engagement of the public in Armenia going to vote yesterday? Did you happen to walk the streets and go by any of the voting places? What can you tell us as a non-Armenian, a friend of Armenians, and adopted Armenian as far as we're concerned? Alexander Lapshin.
So I think all of my friends, all people I know here in Armenia, at least around me, all of them went to vote yesterday.
Okay.
What I want to say is that in 2018, I mean the revolution, the citizens of Armenia did not vote in support of Pashinyan, but rather against the previous corrupt government. So Armenians were ready to vote for anyone, even for the evil, if only the former government was gone. But neither the current government of Armenia nor the opposition in any way commented on my victory in the European Court of Human Rights. Have you paid attention? No one commented about my case. But this is extremely important for Armenia, extremely important for the release of Armenian prisoners of the war. So I began to understand that they somehow run the same goal of bringing Azerbaijan closer together with Armenia, Azerbaijan and Turkey closer together. And both Nikol Pashinyan and the opposition, actually, they did together in the idea to open the borders, to get closer with Azerbaijan and Turkey. And those elections were just kind of imitation of the democratic choice of the citizens of Armenia. So if you ask my own opinion, so I don't believe both to Nikol Pashinyan and to the opposition leaders.
You know, that's actually a really great observation, Alexander. And I think that, you know, I guess it's natural for one in your position to make that observation because it deals with your particular case. But one would imagine that in a different world, the government and or the opposition would try to take advantage of that opportunity of the fact that this case was decided at the European Court and that it says something about the regime in Baku. But I have to say, I think your observation is extremely clairvoyant, and it could very well be, as you suggested, that the process of the electoral gamesmanship, because in a lot of ways, let's be honest, we've had a number of guests on our program during the election campaign, and I have to say that many of those that we asked very direct questions about with respect to the future were really speaking of the past and not about the future. And I have to say that I feel as if your observation regarding the failure to comment on your case is a real case in point, that why wasn't that taken advantage of in the electoral campaign? You would think that it would have been, and you believe that the position of both sides is towards this opening of the borders and that there is a transformation, at least in terms of the governing elite, as to what Armenia is going to look like in the region. Do you care to expound on that?
So I think within a year or two, they will open the borders with Turkey and Azerbaijan. So they will bring investment from both of the countries. So I think the main danger from this, from the getting closer with the neighbors, I mean Azerbaijan and Turkey, is that Armenia is still too much corrupted country and poor, unfortunately, once again, unfortunately poor, third world country and very corrupted. And in case that the Azerbaijani funds and money will brought to Armenia, so this country will be absolutely destroyed. It will be the second Georgia, I mean the country of Georgia. It's basically the transit. I mean, Georgia today is a transit point for Azerbaijan and Turkey in their plans to build a big Turan and of the Turkization. So unfortunately, I don't see any light in the horizon.
And if I can follow up real quickly, Garo, you know, when you said that it's like it will be like a Georgia, and I think that, correct me if I'm wrong, I think one of the observations that you're making is the fact that with the opening of the borders with Turkey and Azerbaijan, for example, their entire economy is essentially taken over by Turkish goods, Azerbaijani goods, and there's quite a bit of influence. And that type of prognosis do you feel that that Armenian society is ready for something like that? And again, this is just an observation based on the people that we have spoken to throughout this process. Do they not expect that? Do they not see that coming? One would think that if you have a country of 80 million that doesn't recognize the genocide that it committed or its predecessor committed on the Armenian people, and its government subsequent to that has played the game of cover up and eradication of Armenian history, that those borders opening spell quite a bit of danger. Do you feel that you know, the population doesn't see that? This is a question that I understand the value of economic openness and economic borders, and I get that. I understand that in a peaceful region. I understand that in perhaps Europe. You know, we just finished a war where, you know, Armenians, you know, for all conservative numbers, say we lost 4,000 soldiers, not to mention the wounded. Those are 4,000 families, actually more families that have been traumatized. What is your take on society? I understand what your view is with respect to the government's intentions. Do you believe that Armenian society will tolerate and or welcome that?
Oh, I think the society in Armenia is too much passive. So within a couple of years, the society will be prepared for getting closer with Turkey and Azerbaijan. So this is a bit complicated questions. So I think let's keep it because I have troubles with Azerbaijani government. I don't want the troubles with Pashinyan government. But I can tell you about my experience of visiting the border areas in Sunik area. So
and before you do that, I'm sorry, Alexander, before you do that, I want you to tie it into, and because I know you went to the Sunik area, we know that. Keep in mind that Erdogan traveled to Shushi with Aliyev, and they issued this declaration, and they talked about this corridor that's going to go through Sunik and connect Nakhichevan, the exclave with the rest of Azerbaijan. And now you're talking about your prediction, at least your assessment that the borders will be open between Armenia and Azerbaijan and Turkey in the next couple of years, 1 or 2 years. In that backdrop, when we're talking about what's going to happen to Armenia, what do you think will happen to the Armenians of Artsakh and the right of self-determination of people of Artsakh? Your victory in the European Court of Human Rights was a human rights victory. And I agree with you 100%. It was a golden opportunity and obligation that I believe the authorities in Yerevan missed on utilizing it. So did the opposition. 8 months after the war, all people did was throw stones at each other. And there you were, a month ago, the European Court of Human Rights is saying this guy's human rights were violated, and they were violated by Azerbaijan, the same country that went and kidnapped civilians from Artsakh and took them to Azerbaijani jails. And now we're talking about Sunik. So put all that together. Where do you see the Armenians of Artsakh and their rights of self-determination? I mean, Russia is saying, I'm not going to let Turkey, have a base in Azerbaijan, and we will protect our security. Do you see trouble ahead? Or do you see an economic influx that's going to be winning a war by economic overwhelming of the population, as you put it, the poor population of Armenia and perhaps even Artsakh?
I'll mention 2 points. First of all, you talked about the visit of Erdogan to Shushi. About a week ago, I had an idea to go to Karabakh, to visit Karabakh, I think first time since my last visit 11 years ago. But I was advised by local, let's say, intelligence here in Armenia, I was advised not to go to Artsakh in order to not irritate Azerbaijan. Could you imagine this? So I said, okay, so I will not go there. Instead, I will fly to Europe. Interesting, right? And the second point, a couple of days ago, I talked to my local Yerevani friend who is originally from Stepanakert. He told me one interesting stuff. He said, in the last number of months, different people from Moscow, from Kiev, from Europe, trying to get in contact with Artsakh businessmen, with him and his friends, and they asked him to sell his land to strange persons from Moscow, from Kiev, of Azerbaijani origin. So they offer a good amount of money, and this guy, he has a hotel in Stepanakert. So he was offered a really good price. It's like twice the normal price. So he asked me, what do you think in case I will sell my lands, I will sell my hotel to let's say, Russians, but you know well, they are not Russians, they're Azerbaijanis with Russian passport. So what I expect? So I expect that Karabakh will be surrendered to Azerbaijan within, let's say, 5-10 years. So Russian base still in this place. It will be more like, Bosnia and Herzegovina in Europe. It was a compromise of ethnic Croatian Catholics and Bosnian Muslims and Serbian Serbs. So now it's like just one country separated by unseen borders, really unseen borders. So people live all together. the Muslim government in Sarajevo, in support of Turkey, they bring people to the Christian areas of Croatians and Serbs. They settle people there just to conquer more lands. The same case in Karabakh, I think. Within 5-10 years, they will sell everything to Azerbaijan and Turkey, lands, businesses, everything. And the Armenian population will, step by step, they will move out of Karabakh. They will receive, refugee status in Europe and America. Some people will move to Russia and some to Yerevan. Unfortunately, I don't see any good expectations from what's going on.
And, Alexander, I want to follow up on that. I have to say, I am almost floored at the fact that that authorities in Armenia told you not to go so that it doesn't upset the Azerbaijani regime. I think that's pretty telling, is all I'm going to say at that point, because I find that troubling on a number of different levels. You raised another point regarding your anecdotal conversation with your friend. And I think this is something, Garo, that we really need to dig into a little bit more on a future program.
Yes.
And that is the idea of the business interests and the economic interests that are at play in Artsakh. And the reason I say that is that there is such a flurry of construction activity going on right now in Artsakh, a flurry of construction activity. And yes, we know that some of it is, or maybe all of it is for new homes and for displaced peoples. But, the question arises, where's the money coming from? How much material is being brought in and from where? And, it plays into this narrative, Alexander, and when you said it, it just made me think a little bit about that, is that there are apparently a lot of financial dealings going on. And the narrative that you suggest, the possible outcome, seems to be the direction that things are headed, that there is quite a bit of financial gaming going on, and that the prospect for the actual civilian population there may not be as dreamy or rosy as one would think, that the Russian presence there is obviously for Russia's purposes, but it is troubling to think that there is concern about upsetting the Azerbaijani government in Armenia. Can you expound upon that a little bit? Because I have to say that not only it's not necessarily shocking to me, but it's really valuable to hear it from a non-Armenian, somebody who is in Armenia and has had this experience, this very unique experience with Qarabakh, with the Azerbaijani regime, and is in Armenia now. What can you say about that? I guess I'm not going to ask you to say anything that you shouldn't say or you feel uncomfortable saying, but I'd like you to expound upon that a little bit more about what you feel are the future involving some of these economic and business decisions that are being made and where that's headed.
So I think first of all about the constructions. So the funding of the constructions came from two sources, I think. First of all, everything is military related. It comes from Russia. So Russians built a number of military bases in Artsakh, in Stepanakert, around Martakert, and a number of other areas, including in Armenia. So Russians now rebuilt the airport in Sisian. So ex-airport abandoned it like 30 years ago, abandoned airport in Sisian. It's now used as a Russian military air base. The same with the airport in Kupang. So there are a lot of Russian military outposts and bases all around Sunik. So the same in Artsakh, actually. So Russians need the area as they like a huge military presence here in Southern Caucasus. So what they need? They don't care about the independence of Artsakh, or they don't care about the relations between Armenia and Azerbaijan. What they need is their presence here. So they've got it.
Go ahead. Continue, Alexander. Continue.
Yeah. So, and the second source of the funds is from Azerbaijan and Turkey, of course. So they use different methods of bringing the money to Armenia and Azerbaijan. Armenia and Artsakh. For example, they can use Russian banks to bring money here from Azerbaijan. So what can I say? Sad, very sad.
You mentioned about having gone to Syunik and observed a lot of Russian bases. Did you also observe any Azerbaijani signs and physical presence? Because we keep hearing that you'll be driving down the road and the next thing you know, it says, welcome to Azerbaijan, but you were just in Armenia, and then you go through a stretch of land that supposedly, it's Azerbaijan according to the sign all of a sudden.
Yeah, you're right. About 2 weeks ago, I visited the border regions of a new border between Armenia and Azerbaijan, starting from Tavush and ending in Migri in the border with Iran. So today the situation is such that Azerbaijan controls all the key roads connecting Armenia with Iran. So, and as for the city of Kapan, actually it's capital city of Syunik, the border runs like less than half a mile from the city center of the city, from the residential buildings of the city of Kapan. So in addition, I saw many villages and residential buildings remained in the Armenian side and the agricultural lands on the Azerbaijani side. For example, as for the village of Shurnukh, it's a little bit between Goris and Kapan, and the village of Shurnukh. Half of the village remained on the Azerbaijani side, and dozens of the families had to leave their homes. Just to cross the road to the border between Armenia and Azerbaijan, they had actually the road in the center of the village. So, but the most, actually, in my own opinion, the most dangerous thing is something else. So the new border between Armenia and Azerbaijan is not controlled by the Armenian armed forces. So starting from Goris to the border with Iran, which is about 200 miles to the south of the mountain winding road, I haven't seen a single post of the Armenian army. So, this is very strange. This is despite the fact that for almost all of its land, this road runs along the border with Azerbaijan. So this road between Goris and Migri is now the border between Armenia and Azerbaijan.
And is it significant to you that the active military operations, which stopped on November 9, the attacks onto Artsakh with the drones and all the bombing and everything else, and here we are 7 months, 8 months later, and we're talking about Syunik, and we're talking about Armenia-Azerbaijan border. The human rights defender of Armenia is focused on the violations of the territorial integrity of the Republic of Armenia. It seems that all of this is by design, because now all of a sudden, nobody's talking about what about the status of Artsakh, because you, I know, Alexander, have in the past spoken in support of the self-determination rights of the people of Artsakh. And, people just ignore the self-determination rights, which are universal rights, regardless of what position Azerbaijan takes. But now we're all focused on what's going to happen. Is there going to be a pathway from Nakhichevan to Azerbaijan going through the southern region of Armenia? Nobody's talking about Artsakh. Is this by design? Because the mountainous region of Artsakh, which stays intact, not the other territories that were run over by the #2 NATO army supporting Azerbaijan and all the mercenaries that came from the Middle East and Africa that joined in this onslaught. Is this by design? I mean, you have gone to 150 countries. You've gone to all these Eastern European former Soviet blocs. You just talked about Bosnia-Herzegovina. You talked about Serbia, and all of those regions, got their right of self-determination. And depending on whose corner you're looking at the situation. What about Artsakh?
Uh, I think the fate of Artsakh was decided long ago, even by the previous government. So what's going on now is just a kind of new way of living, a new way of understanding. So as Pashinant mentioned, I think even 10 years ago, Artsakh is a trouble for Armenia. So Artsakh is a pain for Armenia. So they're in a way of, as we told, bringing Artsakh to the Azerbaijani hands. And something, by the way, something else about the roads from Goris to Begri. Actually, the only control is the exclusively from Russian peacekeeping forces. I saw several observation posts of the Russian army, not Armenian, I mean Russian army, but other Russian soldiers themselves told me on one of the posts, their function is only to monitor the situation on the border. So Russian soldiers are not authorized to take any action or any forceful actions against the Azerbaijani or Armenian authorities in case that, for example, Azerbaijani soldiers violate the border and block the road to Begri. So Azerbaijanis can just, walk like 10 meters and they can block the main road to Begri. So in other words, if you're traveling to Sunik from Yerevan and the Azerbaijanis decide to stop your car, so no one will stop them from doing this. So Russian have their very limited functions and the Armenian army is not there. And the same in Artsakh. So Armenia has nothing to do with happenings around Artsakh. I was advised not to go to Artsakh, but I can describe to myself this came from Russians, and not Armenians. So Armenia already lost Artsakh, absolutely lost in 100%. So everything depends now on Russians and Turks. That's it.
Alexander, I think that you raise a lot of points that are bringing home a lot of various issues that we had discussed with our previous guests, down to the point where the Azerbaijani police can stop somebody along the road. This is something that Arman Tatoyan, the human rights ombudsman, was talking about. If there's an accident, under whose jurisdiction would that be governed? When you say that Armenia lost Artsakh already 100%, and that has no control over the happenings, to use your words, at the border. We can't overlook the fact that the government that just won the election also hasn't had a functioning foreign ministry for over a month. I mean, let's just call a spade a spade. We're in a situation right now where if it's not war, then it must be diplomacy that is governing the day. And if our soldiers aren't on the borders and our diplomats don't happen to be in the office, I don't understand I'm really at a loss, quite frankly. And I think that and it absolutely shocks me with the voting in Shurnuk village. I mean, I'm sure you saw the results that they sided with the existing with Nikol Pashinyan's alliance or a party. And my question is, how do you make sense of that? I mean, as an observer who's been there on the ground at this time in history, and you've been in conflict zones, and it is shocking to say that we're talking about the Armenia proper as a conflict zone now. We're talking about Sunik as a conflict zone, and this is really kind of shocking because in a matter of not even a year, the world has been turned upside down, and with a nation that has such a rich history as ours, and you can just read a book and go back 100 years in the story, and you might not be familiar with this, but the story of Kesav Armenia is Kesav in Syria is very much this story. When you talk about the homes on one side and the pastures on the other, and it's amazing that we are not seeing what's happening in real time, perhaps even in slow motion, and we don't see that actually happen. This is actually happening on our watch. What is your understanding of what is it that, let's just take does the villager in Shurnukh believe that those the Russian military is there forever and is there for their protection and not just for observation? Do they believe that the government is I don't know. I guess I'm lost, and I guess explain to me what you think. Particularly the voters in the border villages. Like, what is the logic? What's going on here? Are they looking for open trade with Azerbaijan at that border? Is that what's happening?
To be honest, I think first of all, people on the border areas of Syunik and plus the Artsakh, most of the people actually trust more on Russians than on Armenians. That's crazy and it sounds unbelievable, but still. For example, many of my Artsakh friends, they tell me, for example, when you go from Armenia to Artsakh, you will see our soldiers. Armenians told me, ask, so your soldiers, you mean Armenian soldiers? No, our soldiers, I mean Russian soldiers. So I heard this from Armenians from Stepanakert. So they trust on Russian army, they trust Putin. There are a lot of posters, a lot of social advertisements of the Russian government inside Artsakh. So I think within a number of years, most of Artsakh populations will receive Russian passports. Same like happened in Abkhazia and Southern Ossetia in Georgia. And what's for the proper Armenia? As I already told you, so people in Shurnukh, people in different other border villages, they trust more on Russians than on Armenian army because they see presence of Russians, but they don't see Armenians. So that's it. So when I traveled to Migri, so I crossed all of Syunik, I had a lot of conversations and with Russian soldiers and Russian officers. I was taken to the, for example, to the base of Russian peacekeepers. They recognized me. They told me, we know you, you're Lapshin, you're a blogger, you're a journalist, and so on. So they told me about different points. For example, they told me, if Azerbaijanis stop you on the road and will kidnap you to Baku, so Pashinyan will not defend you. So you can trust only on Russian forces. So that's it. That's it.
We should mention that even after Aliyev pardoned you, the way he put it, they tried to kidnap you again, right? They tried to start criminal proceedings against you. They, because they were trying to pull you out of, I believe, Latvia, because they said you were offending the dignity of Azerbaijan. Where have we heard that before? I think that's Article 301 in Turkey, where Erdogan, was all too happy to prosecute anybody that insults Turkishness. I mean, this is the 21st century, Alexander, and it's amazing to me that our government, our United States government, where we live, Karnig and I, who pretends to be so deeply committed to human rights, will never condemn its two darling dictators, Aliyev or Erdogan, either one of them. These two characters have engaged in blatant, enormous human rights violations and committed it against not just their own people, but others, minorities within their country, and people from outside. I mean, they've come into Artsakh and taken Armenians, civilians, we know that. They tried to, well, they did. They took you from another country and extradited you, and they were going to try and do it again. They were going to kidnap you from Latvia. What do you have to say about your understanding of this dynamic? I mean, everything depends on Turkey and Russia, but Turkey is a NATO ally, and you, fortunately were able to go back to Israel, and that attempt was foiled against you, the kidnapping attempt. I tell you, I look forward to going back to Artsakh, but for you, Alexander, I would say I'm glad you didn't go to Artsakh under the current conditions.
So in any case, if you decide to go to Artsakh, be careful and trust on Russians instead of Armenians here. And unfortunately, as you said, so my conflict with Azerbaijan is still standing. So in spite of the fact that I won the case in the European Court of Human Rights, still Azerbaijan is trying to bring me to Baku once again. So I was warned by both Armenian intelligence and Russian intelligence to be extremely careful on all my trips around the world. So they mentioned a number of the countries that I must avoid, even not to cross on their airspace. For example, Turkey, of course, Azerbaijan, Turkey, Belarus, Ukraine, all the Central Asian nations like Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, and all around, plus Albania. I don't know why Albania, maybe because this is a Muslim country, I don't know. Bosnia, they mentioned Bosnia, and number of African countries that receive a lot of investment from Turkey. So for now, I'm traveling in Europe, in the United States, Canada, number of countries in South America. I mean, normal world. So they told me, please avoid third world countries where you can be, they can sell you to Azerbaijan.
Alexander, and I'm happy that you used that phrase normal world, because I want to come back to something that you said earlier. You described, and correct me if I'm wrong, and I don't say this as a criticism, because as you speak, I'm putting putting the dots, connecting the dots together, and I think you might be right on. You refer to Armenia, maybe in passing or quickly, as a third world country. Now we talk about the fact that our borders are not controlled by the Armenian military, which is one of the basic understandings of just the classic concept of sovereignty, that you have to be able to control your own borders. And we're talking about Armenia, not Artsakh right now. That we don't have a functioning foreign ministry, as far as I understand. And apparently there could be no need for one, because perhaps the writing's on the wall and we're just here watching things develop. It could very well be, I don't know. My question to you is this, and you've traveled, more than 2 handfuls of countries. We know that, and you're, you're not just tasting cuisine. You're writing about pressing issues, on socioeconomic issues, political issues. You've commented on that. And I'm afraid to ask it. If I were to ask you to compare Armenia to a country, Armenia today, that country is not a European country. Are we on the same page with that in terms of its stability, in terms of its sovereignty? What do you compare Armenia to today? And my question is this: you've answered where you expect to see Artsakh in 5 or 10 years. What do you think is happening in Armenia? And you've mentioned Georgia, but please give me a little bit more detail about, what is the long-term picture? If you were to come travel to Armenia in 20 years, what is Armenia in 20 years under these, if things play out the way you're seeing them play out?
So I'm trying to monitor the situation in Armenia. I'm talking about myself. So I can predict that within a number of years, Armenia could be dangerous for me and my family, in case that the Azerbaijani and Turkish investment will brought to Armenia, and the borders will be opened. Even nowadays, I received number of threats here inside Armenia. I was called, for example, once I was called to Russian embassy here in Yerevan, and they told me, be careful here, even in Yerevan, because Yerevan is full of Azerbaijani agents. It's not now. It began from the revolution 2 years ago, in April 2018. So what can I tell you? Armenia now is a third world country, dependent in 99% on Russia. So you said Armenia doesn't have its foreign ministry. I think for now, a Russian foreign ministry in Moscow is enough, both countries. it's kind of a bad joke, but still, black humor.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it.
And yeah, sorry, go ahead, Garo.
I was going to say, talk about an objective perspective to a couple of Armenians, Karnig and I, who understand the distinction between thought and feelings, but cannot shed feelings when we are thinking, because at the end of the day, that's our ancestral and real homeland. But for genocidal policies and genocide, I would not have been born in Beirut, and Karnig would not have been born in Chicago or New York, I think. Karnig was born in the Americas.
Chicago, yeah.
Chicago, there you go. So, you know, just like for the Jews around the world, you know, Israel is their ancestral homeland, regardless of whether, you know, one is a Russian Jewish person, Russian with a Jewish descent, or an American with a Jewish descent. To hear you very, very unemotionally, and as well you should be, describe the doomsday scenario is really it's cause for pause, you know, and it calls for action, diaspora action, homeland action. It calls for shedding petty differences, at least aside, for us Armenians of the globe, and uniting for a single objective. Somehow, some way, when there's a will, there's a way, they say, to maintain our survival against the existential threat that is the hostile nations surrounding Armenia, hostile nations surrounding Artsakh, which is now, you know, all but an enclave surrounded by Azerbaijan and at the mercy of Russian troops, you know, to which we are grateful as Armenians for having intervened, to which we are disappointed, as I am, for having not intervened earlier. And don't get me started about Europe with their lip service about human rights and not imposing any sanctions on Turkey or Azerbaijan for decades of human rights violations.
Garo, you know, by the way, you mentioned that you were born in Beirut.
Yes.
I've been to Lebanon 2 times. First time, as Israeli soldier. I spent in Lebanon like half a year in southern Lebanon as Israeli soldier. It was 22 years ago. And then after I finalized my military service, I decided to go to Lebanon as a tourist because I loved this country so much. It sounds unbelievable, you know, because Lebanon for Israel is kind of enemy country. It's a lot of hostilities because between both of the countries. So I used my Russian passport to go to Beirut. So I went to Jordan, from Jordan to Syria, one more enemy country for us, as a Russian tourist, and then from Damascus to Beirut. So I remember the neighborhood of Burj Hamud.
Burj Hamud.
Armenia.
I lived there for 6 years.
Burj Hamud. Yes. I remember Burj Hamud in Beirut. It was really incredible experience because on one side, I was a soldier in the Israeli army. So we invaded Lebanon. So we, you know, occupied like 20% of the Lebanese territory. We kept it till the millennium. Then we retreated. And then I came to Lebanon as a tourist, as a peaceful tourist. And what I'm talking about, when I compare this situation with the situation in Artsakh, for example, so I hope so much. I hope for peace. I pray for peace in this region. I hope that one time, even being occupied by Azerbaijan, by Armenians will be able to go to Shushi, to go to Gadrut. As a tourist, maybe the Armenian passport will be stamped in Shushi Border Control Republic of Azerbaijan. Okay, but still they will go to Shushi, and probably Azerbaijanis will travel to Yerevan, there were one guy, by the way, there were one guy in Azerbaijani jail, major of Azerbaijani police, actually nice guy. Once he called me to his room and invited me to drink tea, to eat pahlava. You know pahlava?
Yes, of course.
Pahlava.
Yes.
And this guy, he told me, he said, you know, I can speak Armenian. I asked him, how come? He said, because I was born in Yerevan. So, wow, good. He said, yes, after the Karabakh war, so our family left to Azerbaijan. So we lived in Baku for 30 years. But still, he said, I love Armenia. My first girlfriend, he said, she was Armenian. We both studied in the Yerevan State University. So he said, actually, my dream to go to Yerevan, to go to the Muslim cemetery close to Yerevan, to put a stone on the grave of his father. And he was actually a good guy. He said, oh, look, Alex, when we will be released from our jail, and he said, I'm sure we'll be released somehow from Azerbaijani jail, I will ask you for something. Probably we will go to Armenia, you will show your middle finger to Aliyev, but never mind. Please go to the cemetery and put a stone on the grave of my father. And I did it. And I think this is a good beginning. I did it. Yes, I did it.
Oh, okay.
It took some time to find this graveyard, to find this grave. It was somehow damaged, but still, I did it. So I hope for the peace. I hope for the peace agreement between Armenia and Azerbaijan and Turkey. But Armenia must keep, strong to make stronger all the institutes of the government, the intelligence, and same like Israel, for example. So Israel, for example, received a peace agreement, achieved a peace agreement with almost all the Muslim world. I mean, Saudi Arabia, Emirates, Bahrain, Kuwait, many Muslim countries, Egypt, Jordan, and I think Lebanon and Syria are somehow on the way. And Israel received a lot of investment, for example, from Saudi Arabia, which is in spite of the so-called peace agreement on the paper, but still kind of enemy country, Saudi Arabia. But still, Israel is in a need of Saudi money. But Mossad makes a good job. So just checked every door that they received from the Muslim world. They checked every personality and any government official who received money from Arab countries. And in case they found something illegal, they put this man in a jail. And it's absolutely unbelievable, for example, in Israel, that somebody else will control the Israeli borders with neighborhood countries. And I don't believe in the threats to my life in Israel, because I trust Israeli intelligence, I trust Israeli army. There are no other armies in Israel, even not single Armenia, America, even single Armenia. Once again, Armenia. We're talking so much about Armenia. So understand me.
Yes, yeah. America. There's no soldiers in Israel other than Israeli soldiers. Yes,
Israeli soldiers.
Alexander, I have, and I know that we're beyond our 1 hour, and I have to say this has been an enlightening conversation on so many levels. Unfortunately, I can't say that it's been pleasantly enlightening, but it has been enlightening, and I thank you for that. And I want to ask you something regarding a word, and that word was plastered all over the Armenian world during the time of this war, and it's almost as if I've never heard it again. But when you're speaking, I can't help but have that word echo in my head. This war was supposed to be the existential war, that this was an existential war, that this was the war that we were going to be able to, or that the goal was to prevent our obliteration, our annihilation. And I don't use those terms lightly because, you know, the stories that you're telling me now, I bet you we can find many similar instances from the time of our great annihilation during the time of the Armenian genocide. And, you know, we hear a lot of the echoing, you know, the language, the hatred, you know, the fluidity of, you know, when you said about our Azerbaijani soldiers being able to walk in and, you know, pull over a car on this road or that road, let's not forget that Azerbaijani soldiers have been camped inside the borders of Armenia during the election. I mean, this is there's probably a lot of black humor jokes one can bring, but I'm not in the mood for that. My question is, do you think that Armenians realize that existentialism doesn't just begin and end with a war and that it is still an existential moment? I mean, clearly the story you're telling us right now, it sounds existential. Yes, it's not, you know, the drop of a bomb and everybody's gone. But you know, history doesn't play out as simply as that. It's often more complicated. And what we're seeing, you know, in terms of, you know, I have no reason to doubt what you're telling me with respect to your meetings with the Russian embassy regarding what's happening in Armenia. There have been videos circulated of, you know, Azerbaijanis driving around Republic Square. So I'm not, you know, it's corroborated in some respects. It's not comforting. Do you think that the Armenian population feels that this is something existential, or that was the war and this is the new period and that existentialism is no longer an issue? I just cannot imagine that it's not an issue, but, you know, your thoughts, I guess, you know, is society feeling that they are under an existential threat or not?
So I think this war was existential for the Armenian people on the emotional level. But if we're talking about the global politics, it was decided from the beginning in advance. So Karabakh. I think the business, all the Armenian business, and I'm trying to tell you, you know, not to make trouble to myself here in Armenia, how to explain you in a wise way of this.
Take your time.
Because we understand well, it was decided from the beginning to surrender Karabakh to Azerbaijan.
When you say the beginning, Alexander, what do you mean the beginning? The beginning of the 44-day war a year ago?
No. I think it was decided like 5, 7, 10 years ago. So the situation in Southern Caucasus was changed. So Karabakh has become a headache, not only for the Armenian government, but for Russians too. The only thing Russians need here in this region, and they keep their presence, keep their bases. That's it. So they don't need any troubles with Azerbaijan and Turkey because of emotions of Armenians. So that's it. The politics is very dirty, but this is real politics.
Yeah. It's not the type of answer I want to hear, of course, Alexander, but I, you know, emotionally, but it is the one I want to hear logically, because I do want to have your objective opinion, and I thank you. I know that, you know, many people who have been through the ordeals that you have been through regarding this issue would not even appear on a screen anywhere. So I commend your bravery on that, I have to say, and your willingness to come forward, not only with your own personal stories, but also your own reflections on what is happening. I know that we didn't get a chance to get into it earlier, but how, you know, the region plays into the regional conflict between Iran and Israel as well, because we know that there are significant factors there that influence the war and have influenced alliances and things of that nature. But I just wanted to thank you for your willingness to come on and speak with us, your openness and your candor. And although some of what you said, a lot of what you said is very difficult for us to hear, not only in terms of the personal ordeal that you went through personally, because as any human, nobody wants to hear of another human suffering like that, number one. But also, I think it's been hard to hear as Armenians, what is the realpolitik side of this that we may not be appreciating, or when I say we, that whether it's civil society or government or global Armenian nation, we like to call it. Armenians are like, we're part of the equation, but we don't seem to be part of the dominant numbers in that equation, it seems. And a lot of things are sounding more and more dangerous and leading to a result that really is somewhat unpalatable. And I don't want to even try to sugarcoat it. That's just how I feel. Garo, unless Alexander, you have any final words, I'd like to pass it on to Garo for his thoughts.
Thank you, Karnig. Thank you, Garo. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Alexander, for being with us. Thank you for everyone that stayed what appears to be an hour and a half of very valuable and very eye-opening and gut-wrenching revelations from someone who I view as a person that has a history of firsts. All of us as citizens of the world, as human beings, are confronted with many circumstances that is a first circumstance for each of us sometime during our lives. Alexander, you've had a few of those. Most recently, you were the first Israeli, if you will, to visit Saudi Arabia since Israel's creation in 1948. I believe you went there February of last year.
Yeah.
And I congratulate you for that. You are perhaps the first citizen of a country that has what, by all accounts, appears to be a healthy relationship, and I refer to Israel's relationship with Azerbaijan. Yet, Azerbaijan had the audacity to play with you and your freedom and your human and civil rights and kidnap you and take you into its prison cells. You have a history of firsts in many respects. You have been born in the former Soviet Union, or Russia now, if you will, and as a world power that it is, it too was played with to the tune of you, a natural-born citizen of its republic, its country, its union, by Azerbaijan. You have endured all of those, and I suspect along the way, you have done what I view life to be all about. You've made choices, and you have then endured the consequences. The consequences at times are harsh, and other times are rewarding. And we as Armenians are standing once again at the edge of a cliff where we have a choice to make, and whatever the choice is, there will be a consequence. You spoke, Alexander, and I compliment you for your humanity in having gone to Armenia and found the gravesite of that Azerbaijani major's relative and placed a commemorative object onto that grave. It would be nice if the Azerbaijani government did not destroy the cemeteries in Artsakh, did not eradicate and cause the evaporation of a church from existence. It would be nice that Azerbaijani government would realize that by erasing the culture of Armenians that have been living on those lands for centuries, they are doing no favors for themselves in the long run. History will judge these atrocities harshly. It may not be during our lifetimes, but it will judge them sooner or later. It did so to Hitler, and it will do so to Erdogan. It will do so to Aliyev as well. Returning to us Armenians, returning to us global Armenians, you have rang the bell yet again for us, Alexander, and I thank you. We spoke about the first day of the war, September 27, when Frontlines began, about this being an existential threat and a fight for our existence. And here we are months later, you are telling us about the silent war, whereas the rockets have stopped falling and the drones have stopped flying. You're talking about the silent war of economics, of infiltration through border openings, and that if we are not careful, we will lose our Armenian population. It will diminish in Artsakh. It will probably begin a wave of departure from Armenia. And it is up to us to make choices and suffer or reap the benefits as consequences of those choices. I look forward to the feature film by a brilliant filmmaker, our dear friend Jivan Avedisyan. And I hope that in that feature film, there will be a moment of you visiting that hotbed, emotional and principled community of Burçamut, where I spent many years in Beirut. I hope there will be plenty of moments of you visiting Shushi, Stepanakert, the Sunnik region of Armenia. And I hope that there'll be plenty of moments that show the side of Alexander Lapshin that we have yet to see, the private side, which I believe it is fascinating. I have the utmost respect for your courage, Alexander. I wish you the best. And I'm a phone call away, as is Karnig, and we will speak to you off the air very soon. Have a great day in Yerevan, Armenia. And I know you're traveling in the very near future. I won't say where or when. I do know where or when. And I wish I was going there with you. I think it'll be a lot of fun where you're headed. Have a great day, sir.
Thank you, Garo.
Thank you very much. Good day.
Thank you. Good day.